Hello, this is the set review for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the black cards. If you want to take a look at the rating scale, you'll have to watch the white video. Assassin's Ink, 2 black for an instant. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact, and 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. At a base level, this is a solid removal spell. 2 black to kill anything. It'll be really easy to make this a murder at only 1 black, and a decent amount of the time, this will just be a black victim of night type effect. This is one of the better removal spells in the set. This is never going to mute more than a 1-for-1, but the mana efficiency can make up for that. This is a solid B+. Biting Palm Ninja, 2 and a black for a creature human ninja, a 3/3 with ninjutsu for 2 and a black. Biting Palm Ninja enters the battlefield with a menace counter on it. Whenever Biting Palm Ninja deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a menace counter from it. When you do, that player reveals their hand and you choose an online card from it. Exile that card. Just the base rate on this is pretty decent, a 3/3 menace for 3, and if it connects, you're able to Thoughtseize them. The ninjutsu on this is fine. Also being 3 mana means that you're not getting a huge effect. Discard effects are definitely best at 1 and 2 mana. But getting the damage and then still having a 3/3 stick around is decent. Overall, this is a B-. Blade of the Oni, 1 and a black for an artifact creature, equipment demon. A 3/1 with menace. Equipped creature has base power and toughness 5/5 and has menace, and is a black demon in addition to its other colors and types. This is reconfigured for 2 black. So at its base level, it's a 3/1 menace for 2, which is a decent deal, and is going to get in some early damage. Then, later, you can turn any of your creatures into a 5/5 with menace, and when it pops off, it's still that 3/1. This is a really solid equipment, although it is fairly vulnerable to a lot of the removal in the set. Turning every single creature of yours into a significant threat, though, is a big deal, and as such, this is an A-. Chain Flail Centipede, 2 and a black for an artifact creature, equipment insect. A 2/2. Whenever Chain Flail Centipede or equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, with reconfigure for 2. Again, we'll look at the base. It attacks as a 4/2 for 3 mana, which is decent, but it's not going to win any combats. The reconfigure will be good on evasive creatures, and there are a fair amount of flyers in the set. Neither of these is the best rates, but having the option for both of them, and being a grody ogre at absolute worst, means that this is a C. Clawing Torment, 1 black for an enchantment aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets -1/-1 and can't block. An enchanted creature has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. This is sort of a variant of Stab Wound, but it's only -1/-1. This is only going to be good in aggressive decks, and is sort of a falter effect that also slowly damages them, but that damage can add up and be the difference between winning and losing, especially if you get a few of these out. As such, this is a decent common. This is also an enchantment, which is notable for synergies, so this is a C+. Debt to the Kami, 2 and a black for an instant, choose 1. Target opponent exiles a creature they control, or target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. This is very similar to a card from Theros, which had them sacrifice instead of exile, meaning this is a little bit of a step up. The ability to get rid of sagas, or creatures, or do a bit of targeted enchantment creature removal, makes this fairly solid. 3 mana for an edict effect is not the best rate you're going to get, but it's certainly solid for a common. As such, this is a C+. Dockside Chef, 1 and a black for an enchantment creature, human citizen. It's a 1/2. It has 1 and a black, sack an artifact or creature, draw a card. This is a very good rate, and while it doesn't come with a treasure or anything else to sacrifice for free, this makes removal from your opponent worse, and in general, and can get you a lot of value with some of the artifacts in the set, as well as just being a 1/2 for 1 and an enchantment. This gives you lots of little benefits, and those all add up, and for only 1 mana cost. As such, this is a B. Dokushi Shadowwalker, 4 black for a creature ogre ninja, a 5/5 with ninjutsu for 3 and a black. This is another vanilla ninjutsu creature, but 5 damage is a lava axe, and it's not going to be that hard to get a creature in on turn 4. Hardcasting this is pretty bad, a 5/5 for 6, including 2 pips, meaning that you really only want to get it if you can get the ninjutsu, and even then, it's not the best effect. I'd like this much more if it was a 6 power creature. This is a D+. Dokushi Silencer, 1 and a black for a creature human ninja, a 2/1 with ninjutsu for 1 and a black. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. This is a fairly unique effect, but the fact that you have to discard a real card, a creature, to get that effect makes it significantly weaker than any sort of other kill effects. It also means later in the game, this is effectively a dead card, making it just quite awkward. This is a C-. Enormous Energy Blade, 2 and a black for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+0. Whenever Enormous Energy Blade becomes attached to a creature, tap that creature, with equip for 2. That's a fairly significant downside, but +4 power is a huge amount. Put this on any sort of evasive threat, and you're ending the game in only a few turns. The fact that the equip is cheap means that you can probably equip it to creatures that you play on the same turn, meaning the tap effect is much less debilitating. As such, this is a C+. Ghost Shintai of Hidden Cruelty, 3 and a black for a 2/2, legendary enchanted creature, Shrine. It has Death Touch, and at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control. Destroying a 1 toughness creature will probably pick off a token or so, which is a fine effect. And this is a Death Touch 2/2, meaning that at least it's going to trade for something. The mana cost on all these shrines is fairly hefty, but if this one manages to go off and start picking off a creature every turn, that's one of the better effects. This is a C. Gravelighter, 2 and a black for a creature human spirit, a 2/2 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card if a creature died this turn. Otherwise, each player sacrifices a creature. This is a modal card, and either way, you're drawing a card and get a flying 2/2. That's pretty solid. Although notably it is each player sacrifices a creature, so you have to have fodder, if that's what you're aiming for. There's definitely enough sacrifice synergies in the set that you can get away with that, and if you get full value off this, trading a decent combat and then taking off their last creature, you'll feel really good. At worst, you can even sacrifice this, if necessary. If you trade off some cards, this is a Windrake that draws a card, and that's great. Otherwise, you can just play this, sack it, have them sack a thing, or sack your weakest creature. There's a lot of different options, and this is a really solid flyer that can help enable ninjutsu as well, allowing you to reuse the enter the battlefield effect. This is a B. Hidetsugu, Devouring Chaos, 3 and a black for a legendary creature, Ogre Demon, a 4/4. 1 black, sacrifice a creature, scry 2. 2 and a red and tap, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a non-land card this way, Hidetsugu deals damage equal to the exiled card's mana value to any target. This is an incredible card in Limited. If you're able to activate the ability, it doesn't even matter if you cast the card, you're killing something. And then you also have the option to sacrifice creatures and scry 2, and it's also a 4/4 for 4. This is going to take over a game if you have access to red mana, and even without it, it's not a bad base rate. As such, this is an A+. Inkrise Infiltrator, 1 and a black for a creature human ninja, 1/2 with flying. And for 3 and a black, Inkrise Infiltrator gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is the common ninjutsu enabler in black, being an invasive 2-drop. The pump effect is quite expensive, but at the end of the game, it maybe gets you in 3 or 5 damage, so that's not too bad, in addition to enabling all your other ninjas. This is a C. Invoke Despair, 1 black, black, black. Sorcery. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life, then you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. So most of the time, it's going to be target opponent sacrifices a creature, then they lose 4 life and you draw 2 cards. Other times, it'll have them sack a creature and enchantment, and then they lose 2 life and you draw a card. This is a 3-for-1 no matter how it turns out, and you're going to get good tempo as well. Again, the mana cost is quite heavy, but if you cast this, you've won the game. As such, this is an A. Junji, the Midnight Sky, 3 black black for a legendary creature, Dragon Spirit, a 5/5 with flying and menace. And when it dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life, or put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. Just like all the other mythic dragons, this is an absolute bomb, with incredible stats that gets in damage, and if it dies, you get a big benefit. Only losing 2 life for the reanimate, rather than losing the mana cost, also makes this incredibly strong. and you can take from any graveyard. The ability to clean up the opponent's hand as another option is just gravy on top. As such, this is an S. Kaito's Pursuit, 2 and a black for sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain menace until end of turn. This is the standard Mind Rot with set effect. In this case, giving menace to your ninjas will probably allow at least one ninja to trigger, if not 2 or more. This can be very strong in the right deck, and Mind Rot can be good in tempo decks. It definitely depends heavily on the format, but as there aren't too many graveyard synergies, it seems like it'll be pretty solid. This is a C+. Kami of Restless Shadows, 4 and a black for a creature spirit, 3/3. When Kami of Restless Shadows enter the battlefield, choose one. Return up to 1 target ninja or rogue creature from your graveyard to your hand, or put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. So you never want to use that second ability as it's not card advantage, and then you're getting a 5 mana 3/3, which is just lackluster. Reanimating a ninja or rogue, though, is fine. It's not the best Gravecaller you're ever going to cast, but it's decent. This is a C. Kami of Terrible Secrets, 3 and a black for a creature spirit, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact and an enchantment card, you draw a card and gain 1 life. This is a really good reward for having those 2 things. And then a 3/4 that cantrips is better than most of what green gets in their cantripping creatures, and this is in black at common. It's definitely something to consider, but it's not that hard to meet, and the reward is significantly worth it, even if you have to cast this off curve. As such, this is a C+. Leech Gauntlet, 1 and a black for an artifact creature, equipment leech. Lifelink. Equip creature as lifelink. Reconfigure for 4. A 2/2 lifelink for 2 is fine in a defensive deck, and the ability to reconfigure it to give lifelink reminds me quite a bit of Kindly Stranger. 4 is pretty significant, which does downgrade this a bit, but when it pops off you still have the 2/2, which gives a bit of benefit. This is fine, it's a C. Lethal Exploit, 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. It gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each modified creature you control as you cast the spell. That as you cast is to avoid blowouts. So as it stands, this will mostly be -2 or maybe -3. In terms of rate, you kind of want that as a 1 mana card. And this is a little bit let down. It's still removal, and does kill most of the creatures in the set, though not the ones that you really want to kill. As such, this is a C. Life of Toshiro Umezawa, 1 and a black for an enchantment saga. The first 2 stages are choose one, get a Jite ability, so target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or you gain 2 life, and then it flips into Memory of Toshiro, an enchantment creature human samurai at 2/3, which is tap, pay 1 life, add black. Spend this mana, only cast an instant or sorcery spell. You're getting a few miscellaneous benefits here. Giving a creature -1/-1 if you pick off something is amazing. You're only really going to get this when you cast the spell, as likely they're not going to have 2/1 toughness things. But the second chapter, gaining you 2 life, is fine, and then it transforms into a mana ramp creature for instants and sorceries, but it's also just a 2/3 for 2, which is fine. Overall, the ability to only use 1 Jite counter per each chapter is a bit lackluster. I think this would have been much better at 4 mana and 2 per. This is only a C. The Long Reach of Night, 3 and a black. First 2 chapters, each opponent sacrifices a creature unless they discard a card. Then it flips into an 0/4 with Menace, but when it attacks it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in defending player's graveyard. This is 4 mana for a card advantage saga, which is pretty solid, and then flipping into a creature which will be around 2 or 3/4 at a minimum is pretty good. That's 3 cards for 1 for only 4 mana. This is one of the better sagas in the set, and is a B+. Malicious Malfunction, 1 black sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. In control decks, this is going to be quite strong. Of course, killing the majority of creatures means that in a lot of the decks they just won't want this effect at all, but in those that want this, this is one of the better things, and one of the few sweepers in the set. This is a B. March of Wretched Sorrow, X and a black for an instant. As an additional cost, you can exile any number of black cards from your hand, and it costs 2 less for each card exiled this way. This deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. So this is a fireball that only hits creatures, but gains you life. And if you're really desperate, you can exile creatures to assist with this. That's not going to be a very relevant effect, but as instant speed removal that also gains you life, This is fine. It's definitely a drain on the mana to kill things on curve, and is a bit lackluster compared to some of the other removal in the set. So this is a C. Mukutoi Ambusher. 3 and a black for an artifact creature, Rat Ninja, 3/2. Ninjutsu for 1 and a black. It also has lifelink. Hard casting this, you're disappointed. If you ninjutsu it, you gain 3 life and then are able to trade off for a creature. If you care about ninja synergies, you're going to want this card, but on its own, it's mediocre. It's a C-. Mukutoi Soul Ripper. 1 and a black for an artifact vehicle, 4/3. Whenever Mukutoi Soul Ripper attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on Mukutoi Soul Ripper and it gains menace until end of turn, with crew 2. So, if you sacrifice something when it attacks, this is a 5/4 menace for 2. That is devastating. That's comparable to the Pain Train, but even earlier. If this thing starts going off, it's going to be so hard to stop. And menace means that even something like a Death Toucher needs help just to maintain parity. Obviously, you have to sacrifice to keep putting counters on it, but even if you only do this once or twice, it's still a huge threat for only 2 mana. And with crew 2, it's easy to get up and going again. This is an A. Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion, 1 black for a legendary creature, Rat Ninja. It's a 3/2, with ninjutsu for 3 and a black. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. That's quite the effect, although the life could add up. Either way in limited, you're probably going to get 1 hit out of this, and then get a, let's say, 3 or 4 mana thing on average, as you're getting 1 from both players' decks. If this misses and only gets 2 lands, you're going to be really sad, especially since you paid 4 mana for now your basically vanilla 3/2. This kind of effect wants to be better than it is, but it just doesn't quite add up. This is a C+. Nizumi Blade Blesser. 2 and a black for a creature rat samurai, 3/2. Nizumi Blade Blesser has Death Touch as long as you control an artifact, and it has Menace as long as you control an enchantment. So a 3/2 Menace Death Touch, assuming both conditions are met. That's very hard to block, and will help get ninjutsu creatures in, or just ping for 3 every turn. It's a bit vulnerable to removal, but you're not paying a huge upfront cost, and if you even have one of the conditions met, this is a pretty good limited creature. As such, this is a C+. Nizumi Prowler, 1 and a black for an artifact creature, Rat Ninja. It's a 3/1 with ninjutsu for 1 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. This can help turn complicated combats, or just gain 3 life when it enters the battlefield. And ignoring ninjutsu, it's still a 3/1 for 2, with that enter the battlefield effect. There's a lot of things going for it, though the Death Touch not being usable on defense is a little bit of a disappointment. Either way, this is a pretty solid card, and is a B-. Okubai Reckoner Raid, 1 and a black. First 2 chapters, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Then it flips into a 2/2 Menace. Vehicles you control have Menace. There are a few cards designed for a Suicide Black sort of archetype. Just attack, ping, ping, ping. Hopefully get your opponent dead before they can do anything big. And this is really good in that sort of deck. The 2/2 Menace is probably going to get into 2 damage, or at least make combat a bit complicated for your opponent, or help get a ninjutsu creature in, returning this and allowing you to ping them again. If you get that, you're going to be pretty happy, and that damage really adds up. This is a C+. Okubai Salvage, 4 and a black sorcery. Return your target creature or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then put 2 1/1 counters on that permanent if you control an artifact and an enchantment. So this is mostly 5 mana Reanimate, and then it gets some counters if you have the benefit. It's not as huge of a change as some of these other cards, but 5 mana Reanimate is fine and limited. It'll bring back your best creature, which is probably going to cost around the same amount of mana. So you're not getting a discount, but asking your opponent to have it twice can make the difference. This goes up if you have cards like the Mythic Dragons or similar, as asking your opponent to answer one of those twice is just backbreaking. As such, this is a C+. Reckoner Shakedown, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose an on-land from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, put 2 1/1 counters on a creature or vehicle you control. 3 1/1 counters for 3 mana is quite trash, and a Thoughtseize effect for 3 mana, also quite bad. Combining the 2 cards, even giving you the choice, does not make this good at all. This is a D. Reckoner's Bargain. 1 and a black for an instant. Adds an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You gain life equal to the sacrifice permanent's mana value. Draw 2 cards. The life gain from this is not particularly relevant, as there's no life gain sub-themes in the set. So really this is a 2 mana, sack, draw 2 cards. The ability to sack artifacts is pretty significant, as there are a few that don't mind being sacrificed. This can also help play around removal and keep a low to the ground deck going. It's never going to be the best card in your deck, but it can be a good role player. As such, this is a C+. Return to action, 1 and a black instant. Until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains lifelink, and when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. This is the kind of card that swings combats in Limited. Lifelink being a huge deal on, say, a 3/3 or 4/3, and then getting it back. While these effects can be 1 mana, the lifelink on this one is significant enough that it's not too bad paying 2 mana for it. It's still a limited combat trick that doesn't do a huge amount in terms of swinging things, but it makes a big difference in racing situations, making this a C+. Soul Transfer, 1 black, choose 1. If you control an artifact and enchantment as you cast this spell, you may choose both. Exile target creature or planeswalker, and return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is either 3 mana removal or 3 mana Raise Dead. 3 mana Raise Dead is a really bad effect, but 3 mana removal at sorcery speed is decent. If you get both, then it's a huge blowout. If you meet both conditions, this is definitely a B+, and given this is designed for more of the late game, it'll happen more often than not. Tatsunari, Toad Rider, 2 and a black, legendary creature, human ninja, a 3/3. And whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kimi, create Kimi, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog creature token with, whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then, for 1 blue-green hybrid, Tatsunari, Toad Rider, and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying or reach. That's a lot of words, but mostly it's a legendary creature that asks you to cast enchantment spells. Since there's so many of these in the set, including sagas and random creatures, that's pretty easy to achieve, and if you get a 3/3 from this, it doesn't go away if they kill this, meaning that the advantage is pretty quick. The ability to give them pseudo-flying as well can help get in quite a bit of damage, in addition to the drain from the frog. This is a must-answer threat from the opponent, and they have to do it the turn it comes down, otherwise you're going to get value immediately. It's an A. Tribute to Hurobai, 1 black. The first 2 chapters, each opponent creates a 1/1 black rat rogue creature token. Then it flips into Echo of Death's Wail, a hasty flying 3/3 that, when it enters the battlefield, gain control of all rat tokens. And when it attacks, you can sack another creature. If you do, draw a card. So you'll play this, they'll get a 1/1, they'll not be able to attack with. Next chapter, they'll get a 1/1, they'll be able to attack with 1 of the rats. And then you get to flip it and get both of the rats. This will be a bit unfortunate against ninjutsu decks since you're not going to want to block it, but then if they swap it out, then you don't get the rat. But either way, it's going to be 2 mana, and then you get this 3/3 flying haste that allows you to sack creatures if you want. That's a really good effect. The numbers on this one all work. As such, this is an A. Twisted Embrace, 2 black, enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And as long as it's enchanted permanent as a creature, it gets +1/+1. This is one of those cards where you have to be very wary about your opponent blowing it out. You pay 4 mana, they destroy your creature, you get nothing. That's really bad. But if you get your 4 mana sorcery speed removal and 1/1, that's pretty decent. It also modifies your creature, which can help with additional synergies. As stated, even in the best scenario, it's still this is a 4 mana sorcery speed removal requiring you have a artifact or creature on the battlefield already. As such, this is a C. Undercity Scrounger, 2 and a black for an artifact creature, human rogue. 1/4. Tap, create a treasure token. Activate only if a creature died this turn. This is a fine blocker for control decks that it can help ramp and potentially fix. It is also an artifact that creates more artifacts, giving some helpful synergies. This is a C+. Unforgiving 1, 2 and a black for a creature spirit, 2/3, menace. When it attacks, return target creature card with mana value X or less from a graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. Returning anything more than a 1 or 2 drop with this is going to be pretty difficult, and by the time you do that, this 2/3 is not going to survive. Even still, it's a 2/3 for 3 with menace, and if you manage to return a 2 drop with this, that's pretty decent value. So this is a C. Virus Beetle, 1 and a black for an artifact creature insect, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Just a little 1/1 synergy artifact that gives you a bit of value. This is going to be a really good card for the sacrifice things in black, as well as putting an artifact in the graveyard or on the battlefield, depending on what you want. As such, this is a C+. You are already dead. 1 black for an instant. Destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Draw a card. There's not very many pingers in the set, and there's not a huge amount of tokens either. When this card works, it's going to make you feel great, as your 1/1 trades for their 4/4 and you draw a card. This is asking you to trade some research beforehand to ensure that circumstance happens. Even at only 1 mana, it's still not quite got everything you need. As such, this is a D. And that was the black card review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you could please like, subscribe, take a look at my Patreon, and have a nice day.